wonderful people at SoulFood Books who provide this beautiful stage for poetry. Thank you for coming out in the rain and storms. I've been without power twice since Monday. So thank you for braving, and I hear there's more storms coming, but tonight we're warm and dry and in this lovely venue. And I'm excited because we have two incredibly wonderful, wild, wacky, amazing poets. And I have to tell you their bios, and then I'll tell you a little bit about my personal connection to them. Marjorie Manwaring lives in Seattle, where she is a freelance writer and an editor for the online poetry and arts journal, DMQ Review. It's at dmqreview.com. If you haven't been there, please visit. It's a wonderful journal. Her work has been published in Crab Creek Review, Floating Bridge Review, Sentence, 5 a.m., Swivel, and many other journals. And she has this fabulous chapbook, Magic Word, which is available for $10. And you can see her at the break to get your autographed copy. And that's out from Pudding House. Marjorie's taught poetry and writing to both children and adults, and she was awarded residencies at both the Whiteley Center in Friday Harbor and Art Smith on Orcas Island, two great places to have residencies. And you can read her poems online at mmanwaring.com. And the second reader of the evening will be Dennis Caswell, who lives outside Woodinville, works as a software engineer in the aviation industry. His poetry has appeared in Floating Bridge Review, Mute Note Earthward, Cascade, and the Rose Alley Anthology, Limbs of the Pine, Peaks of the Range, and assorted journals and anthologies. He was a finalist for the Floating Bridge Award in 2009. And I think I met Marjorie Manwaring, I believe it was 2005. And I became aware of her because I was invited to read at the Reel to Reel series in Seattle, and she was one of the readers. And I have to tell you, it was an honor and a humbling experience because she's just phenomenal. And I have been a fan of hers ever since. And I first heard Dennis Caswell at the Woodinville Barnes & Noble, where there's a monthly reading series. And I go to a lot of poetry readings. And I just adore poetry, but rarely does it ever really knock me off my seat. And Dennis is just about dead. So you are in for such a treat tonight. Please welcome our first reader to the stage, Marjorie Manwaring.
Okay, how's the sound? Okay? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Lana, for that introduction, and thank you and Michael and the Soul Foods folks for hosting us, and all of you, again, for coming out in the weather such as it is. My first poem is called Tiger Trick. So a magician, a mentalist, and a poet walk into a bar. Always the same questions when the other patrons learn their trades. Do you know how they do that tiger trick in Vegas? Have you ever met the amazing Kreskin? What kind of poetry do you write? The magician is reading about the physiology of Houdini's lungs. Do you know, he nudges the poet, that Ginsberg guy had quite a pair too. Practiced reading his lines face down in the bathtub. No shit, in the tub. Meanwhile, the mentalist orders drink telepathically and realizes how tired he has grown of bending spoons and always knowing the punchline. In fact, all three are bored with the particular way they exploit the malleable. The magician sometimes wishes he were lyric, but he gets such great results with voila, presto, changeo, and hocus pocus. And the poet, yes, the poet, he keeps trying to saw his words in half, dreams about pulling a sestina out of his hat. And here's a newer poem called Escape Artist. I'll be a juggler, no, a swimmer, manacled like Houdini, able to maneuver my way out of any sort of box, even underwater, even dangling from a high rise. Did you know as a boy he picked up needles with the lids of his eyes? For my first act, I will wire walk across Niagara Falls. How I love to listen to you ooh and ah as I tiptoe across life's gaping chasms. Meanwhile, psst, keep your eyes peeled. I rigged my balancing pole to turn into a rabbit after I nail my triple axle sow cow dismount. Thank you, and now that we've all had a moment, will my sparkling assistant please draw her sword? Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you a real, live, levitating man. No strings, witness her blade slashing air, no mirrors. And again, please bear with us as my dear assistant fetches her theremin, accompanies my departure with an otherworldly opus. Oh yes, it is quite lovely up here, though I'll miss the one-armed unicyclist's daring do. How I revel in this life as a spectacle, even as I become smaller and smaller to my earthbound audience below. And this poem is the one my mom always asks me if I read when I tell her I've done a reading. The Magician's Lover. He was really into sexual pyrotechnics. You didn't hear me complaining. Who wouldn't jump at the chance to try every position in broad daylight, both of you completely invisible? Who wouldn't be willing to do a little extra strengthening and toning so they could act out their doing it while suspended in mid-air fantasy? Sure, he had a couple of odd habits, like keeping the top hat on and chanting abracadabra in an ear-piercing falsetto before the dam broke, but no deal breakers. Thing is, I started to love him, and he was clear from the very start about that. With him, even a breakup was showbiz. The night we said goodbye, he wanted to try it in the Houdini tank, but I knew my limitations. Later, I unwrapped the box he'd sent home with me, a dozen paper roses that, when I held them, turned into white doves and flew away. The Pursuit of Happiness. The mural on the neighborhood cafe's west wall, a fantastical underwater scene. On the left side, a chorus line of shrimp wearing top hats, sporting canes. Think Mr. Peanut, but pink. Though the last in the line looks wistful and makes me feel sad when I look at him. The pang increasing when my friend Susan tells me he bears an uncanny likeness to her great Uncle Nicky. I know you were expecting reality, the secret lives we learn about only after people die. My mom worrying about cremation and its implications for the soul. The golden retriever tied up outside the supermarket and struggling, its legs tangled in a worn leather leash. But I seem to see suffering even in the animated dog who lives in my computer and searches for files I've misplaced. When he digs and scratches and wags his tail, then looks up at me, so wanting to please, I feel badly for replying no to the question, did you find what you were looking for? The silver lining in all this, we hold on to triumph where it can be found. The homing pigeon named Marty who broke his wing in a 300-mile race, yet returned to his owner on foot 2 weeks later. The paraplegic veteran whom the scientists are studying. They've hooked wires to his brain, and he can now turn the television on and off with just his thoughts. And so it goes, energy expended, much of it on the pursuit of happiness, as it should be, though it surprised me at last week's symposium to hear the physicians say that the human act requiring the most energy is dying. A quiet. A quiet poem when I want to shout about the whole depraved, relentless, brilliant band of humans I belong to. Turn to goodness, second chances. How Papyrus, just restored, tells of Judas, not the villain, but the Lord's most trusted friend. How only his steady love could be counted on to do the hardest thing. Let me think inside out, upside down and sideways. Remember, I'm one of the lucky who saw her brother come home from war, gets to love him as if before me is a whole other lifetime. If there's a patron saint of second chances, I surely wear her medallion. And may I add stupid and careless to the list I opened up with. What it takes to drive through two-lane counties after nights without sleep, to nod yourself awake, find your car across the line. Oh, split-second chances, all I don't deserve, the judgments I hand out. A jealous streak to rival Joseph's brothers, who betrayed him, announced him dead. We know the rest. The dreams, Pharaoh, the rise to greatness. But most extraordinary, when Joseph sent for the 11 he hadn't seen since childhood, served them a feast, revealed himself to their astonished hearts. That room filled with weeping men, that room filled with weeping. Reappearing. During intermission, the magician took me aside, showed me to a room he'd recently discovered behind a false wall, turned on the light and said, "Look at this," as if I would grasp the significance. My blank look prompted him to explain the white rabbits hopping among coins and dollar bills, paper bouquets, and various fake fruits. When you're first learning the disappearing act, he said, you make mistakes, very common. Turns out it's all a matter of voice, like training a dog. But even so, objects can be stubborn, refuse to return to their vanishing points. Most upsetting to someone who's entrusted you with an heirloom watch or brooch. Imagine my pleasure at recovering such losses. Now it all made sense. The mound of Boston Red Sox caps, unmatched shoes, sets of keys, and in that cobwebbed corner, the marriage certificate, the gold band, the thin flask of shame. The zipper. Towering above other rides, neon lattice work and steel teeth grinning through reek of vomit and hot grease. This was the ride I never went on, no matter how my brother begged, even the summer I knew he was going away. It was a ride I didn't understand, too many different pulls of gravity, each double-seated cage cable-pulleyed around a suspended elongated arm, the arm meanwhile spinning on its own maniacal axis. Just as intimidating, the guys who pulled levers while cigarettes dangled from their smirks, 10-foot speakers belching Molly Hatchet, Judas Priest. And years after my brother left, after I had gone too, that summer I was preoccupied with loving everything that wouldn't love me back, when I couldn't pick up the phone to call home for fear of missing calls that never came. That was the summer my mother started painting her empty house, redecorating, rearranging. In a conversation years later, my mother told me it was that empty nest summer when, at the state fair held in the next town over, she rode the zipper with an old friend. At first I thought she was joking, but she said it was God's truth. While my stomach surged in retroactive worry, my heart fluttered with pride, envy even, though the image still disturbs me. Her metal cage flipping over and over in the midst of stink and shrieks until the spinning ceases, the machinery lurching her into the D-board zone, butt rock boy ushering her to safety, offering her his hand as she leaps to solid ground. This next poem was inspired by a tabloid that is sadly no longer in being published, but it was called the Weekly World News, and it often featured kind of a tragic figure named Bat Boy, who was half boy, half bat, and it was I guess he was in some industrial accident, but it was never quite clear, and he was always on the run and being chased by farmers and things. Weekly World News. When Bat Boy is finally found, eyes unfocused, sixth sense rapidly clicking away, sharing a cave with Elvis, beaten down from a paparazzi'd afterlife, waving his soiled rhinestone cape like a soldier's white flag, when Bigfoot, D.B. Cooper, Hitler's clone, unionize, agree to appear on a crop circle set for one ratings-rocking Oprah show, when the world-weary alien refuses to endorse a presidential hopeful, impregnates a virgin who's been frozen in an ice block since the Kennedy administration, we will know this is it, our kitsch Armageddon. Oh, bubble tea rosaries, oh, bobblehead saints, deliver my soul on a spork to the icon with the biggest two-page spread. This poem was inspired by getting rejection letters, which is something a poet has to get used to. And the example I was going to show, it was like about the size of a fortune cookie fortune, but it was so small that I actually lost it. But these are the kinds of indignities sometimes you have to put up with. So I thought it would be fun to try and write a rejection letter in the voice of Gertrude Stein, who was an experimental poet who used fragmentation and repetition a lot. Rejection letter from Gertrude Stein. Dear poet, dear author, dear someone, we are pleased, very pleased to regret, sir, regret to inform you the list for talents selected, not you, dear. So many, many, and many, many talents, not you, dear. Received many fine, not you. Thank you, extremely fine, thank you. Keep us in mind, please keep us. Please keep your submission in mind. Entries so fine, many fine, winners selected, not you, not quite. What we need at this time, not quite. Keep in mind, best of luck next time. Editors wish you this guideline. Best of selected regret. Not chosen, you were not able. We inform our regret, we reject your receive. We receive, we regret, inform you we do. We do as we do today to do, don't forget. Difficult choice, we regret. Space and issue weren't able. Limited space, unable. Please accept this issue, our complimentary gift to you. Letterpressed gift in which you do not appear, we regret you. We regret to reject with respect, please accept. Do not accept this reject. If you do, with respect, we reject you. Thanks. And this poem is called Snow Day, and this is the one that is going into the SoulFood's notebook. Snow Day. Snowman believed in taking one day at a time. He had just lost an eye, which was a 1978 penny. The snow woman across the street thought he was winking, and she winked back. But Snowman missed it because his peripheral vision was now very bad. On the bright side, everything smells sweet when your nose is a carrot. Even when one of your eyes has just slid down your face because a crow has been pecking at that nose and disturbed your very shallow eye socket. Snowman's remaining eye was a silver dollar, which made him look like he was wearing a monocle. The crow eventually gave up and left the nose intact. Thank goodness for a firmly planted proboscis. Snowman added "In God We Trust" to his list of aphorisms. The snow woman wore a red Fendi scarf, which the crow coveted. By noon, the crow's nest was lined with couture. Snowman felt sad that the snow woman now had nothing to keep her neck warm, and he rejoiced when the sun came out. Snowman's silver dollar eye stayed put even as his body thinned, pinholes forming with each tiny drip drop falling from the branches above him. His vision became obscured by floaters shaped like Eisenhower's head. He became delirious and dreamed that the snow woman had turned into Carmen Miranda. The fruit on her head grew wings and caused a commotion. In his last lucid moment, Snowman thought, "Tomorrow I will tell the snow woman about those flying papayas. I think she'll get a kick out of that." This one was inspired by a holiday that I like, sort of my favorite holiday because it's really low pressure, and that's Groundhog Day. Groundhog turning poet. Burrow back down. Your work in the dark is not done. Because the autumn was nothing but gathering and digging, you've still got seeds and roots to gnaw and swallow. What's the hurry? You hibernators, so lucky. Months of no distractions from the moon. The strange dreams of slowed metabolism in knowing when to look at shadows. Eskimo pie. An August day on the way home from camping, me, Mom, Daddy, Jimmy, turning into the parking lot of a small grocery, our gold pickup smelling of ashes and hot Naugahyde and coffee, and it stung when my thighs unstuck from the seat. Daddy went in while we waited outside in the faint breeze, and he brought back Eskimo pies. I bit in deep to force the cold against my teeth and gums. The taste wasn't right, and I frowned at the ice cream beads forming underneath the 2 chocolate bumps where the stick came out, watched white droplets hit pavement, and part of me wanted to throw it down. And I hated that he'd made a special stop on that scorching day, when I didn't know what I wanted, but even so licked every last bit of the wooden stick until no chocolate remained, and all I tasted was wood, and my tongue got scratched trying to make sure there was nothing sweet left on that stick. I gnawed on it a couple times too, sinking my teeth down into the flexible wood, just like I'd always done, even before those stones of discontent slingshot me into adolescence, before I knew the restlessness of not knowing what I wanted, but knowing it wasn't Eskimo pies. And this is my last poem called Company Party. Some know-it-all at this party was debunking the childhood chanting game light as a feather, stiff as a board, played late at night in candlelit basements or bedrooms by girls in pajamas ready to be amazed and spooked. He was saying it merely proves the power of suggestion and the constancy of physics. But as with all attempts to intertwine science with the supernatural, I wasn't buying and said so, and around me heads nodded in assent. Look, I said to him, I experienced it myself. 4 friends kneeling around me, 8 bony fingers slid beneath me. When we started whispering light as a feather, stiff as a board, I felt a force from underneath. And when we started saying it louder and louder, I rose steadily up. I was engaged with the air. I hadn't realized I was so passionate about this. We had harnessed some sort of power. By now, a group of co-workers had gathered around me. We clinked glasses and started chanting. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. And that's when the CEO started floating up to the chandelier. followed by the president and vice president, and before long, the whole ceiling was covered with middle managers. Those of us still standing were thinking about another drink, and the know-it-all was jabbing his finger in our eyes, saying something about static electricity and magnetic poles. While we ignored him, someone asked the DJ to play Stayin' Alive, and we danced under the glittering disco ball, mesmerized by the strange shadows it cast. Thank you. And Lana asked me to say a few words about why I asked Dennis Caswell to be my co-reader tonight. I heard Dennis read for the first time last June when he read at an event sponsored by Floating Bridge Press. His chapbook manuscript was a finalist for their annual award. I found myself really admiring Dennis's ability to interweave humor and quirkiness into poems that are also very moving, and also admiring the obvious care he took in crafting each line. When I got invited to read here at SoulFood Books, I immediately thought of him as someone that I would like to join me. So please welcome Dennis.
Thank you, Marjorie, and Lana, there you are, and everybody for being here. This first one is kind of a nature poem, so I'm going to have to tell you something about Frank Lloyd Wright. Frank Lloyd Wright built houses, or designed houses, that had a number of characteristic qualities, but the ones I want you to care about right now are that they didn't have lots of little tiny rooms. They tended to have one great big room, and they had almost no closets. I don't know why that was. Maybe he figured that if you owned one of his houses, what need could you possibly have for other possessions? Anyway, this is called No Closet Space. The sun has climbed into the edge of a cloud, like an idea climbing into Einstein's brain anytime during 1905, and has turned it from something that looks like an orphan's breakfast into the blazing white mind of an angel who got very lucky the night before, into a stop-motion ocean swarming with glowing plankton, into an improbably well-lit warehouse for storing the stuffing for babies' butts, into a Frank Lloyd Wright afterlife, all one big room and with no closet space, but why would you need it? Partitioned by curtains and scrims of little wet suns that cascade or leap, and if you can tell which, your nephological gifts have outdistanced mine, and furnished with piles of pillowy hillocks that bring to mind other pillowy hillocks that I could name, and that irresistibly lead me by the, well, hand to mount my atomic pogo stick, powered by vintage atoms left over from the 1950s, when atoms were still our friends. By bounce 306, I'll be high enough to scatter a fistful of wildflower seeds across the no-need-to-plow cloud loam. And on bounces 590 through 3,812, I'll do lots of nurturing stuff, like reading the seedlings' old E. Nesbit stories, which means I will get to explain what treacle is. And somewhere around bounce 4,073, I ought to be able to snag a big burst of lucent posies, lit up blazing white at their edges and glowing more softly where the bees go. I'll bundle them down to the ground and say, here, these are for you. After which, I shall cease bouncing forever. A very dear friend who came to poetry late, as I did, once told me that it can be embarrassing to go back and tell the folks back home what you've decided to turn yourself into. And they sometimes treat you like you've run away to clown school. And I thought that was the most hilarious thing I'd ever heard in my life, and I couldn't get the phrase clown school out of my head. So I had to write this, which is called Clown School. we learn the way of the pie, rising at dawn for seltzer practice, followed by Volkswagen yoga. And when we're packed into our Beetles, we observe 10 minutes of silence and contemplate our noses. Back in our rooms, after class, we browse the clown face registry, wondering how we will ever create a face of our own that stands out among the immortal mugs of the past. We talk about timing, pacing, amplitude, try our latest moves on each other. You might think it's hard to make another clown laugh, but it's easy. They laugh out of sympathy. The hard part is cracking a crowd that couldn't care less. You have to mean every pratfall, double take, kick in the pants. You have to own those floppy shoes. They need to know you're serious. What the heck time did I start anyway? All right. This next one is about philosophy, but don't worry. I'm no philosopher. I only took one philosophy course in college, and the main thing I remember about it is the way the professor talked. I suppose I was expecting some little guy in a three-piece suit and a pointed beard and a Viennese accent. But what we got was a big, swarthy guy with thinning hair who told us that we were going to talk about epistemology. And he explained to us that epistemology is the branch of philosophy that asks the question, how do you know? So that's what this is called, epistemology. Though we are but mere intellectual whelps, it has been vouchsafed to us by our freshman philosophy prof with the Brooklyn accent who sounds like a tough but fair-minded TV police detective, that the world was created 5 minutes ago, complete with mummies that never actually married their sisters because they have never been anything other than hominid jerky, complete with rocks that do spot-on impressions of something squeezed out of a geological carbuncle in bygone eons that never were, complete with amber containing bugs, containing guts, containing still revivable 45-million-year-old yeast that is once again happily breeding inside the burnished vats of a California brewery, and complete with the memory of how I got caught yanking up Betty Mulcahy's dress in first grade. Our learned guide through the philosophical haunted house in which Berkeley, Hume, and Descartes leap out of the darkness and goggle at us, is at pains to inform us that no one has ever disproved this, which pretty well settles the nature or nurture debate, and might also explain why my mother remembers everything differently. At least it's a comfort to know that all those people did not really die, and history is just a fat Dickens novel, and every twist of fate that ever seemed a cruel joke really was one. And I wasn't really too shy to ask for a date with that pretty librarian whose Celtic accent was singing of misty cliff tops and fairies who'd read Joy of Sex. Though it isn't quite such a comfort to think that my demented aunt, who can't remember her husband, is nearer the truth than the rest of us. He didn't say what was here 6 minutes ago, or where it went, or who decided that it should be replaced with us, or how many times it's happened again since then, or if the world is starting again right now. There. Did you feel it? Me either. Still, no one will ever disprove it. And this is about one of the great mythic heroes of our age, Famitius Fantasticus. Tantalus, Sisyphus, Deputy Sheriff Barney Fife. He's all of those. But what I like best about Wile E. Coyote is watching him die when he pedals out over the edge of a cliff and the camera allows him to hang there until he's aware that he's going to fall, then cuts to a view straight down from the heavens into the blazing hot sandstone abyss, and we watch him descend and diminish, whistling down through the air currents, drifting from side to side, sometimes looking right back at us, his face an overripe fruit of knowledge, becoming a speck, then gone. And then comes the exquisite comic pause, before the faraway hollow slap and the miniature poof of dust deliver the punchline, which always makes me remember all the miscalculations, all the pathetic schemes that led him out over the edge, and how his life is an acme deus ex machina accidentally thrown into reverse, forever shoving him toward a sheer drop, and how he never gets out of its way, but always pushes against it. And though he dies over and over, the canyons never fill up with coyote carcasses. He gets up, goes back in time, and starts over, relives the same tragic delusions, as if he'd been made immortal as a reward for not knowing or caring how stupid it looks to chase something into the empty air. Okay, one more pop culture poem. Ode to Monsters from Outer Space. Oh, bug-eyed, foam-rubber space pinkos, you are uglier even than we are, yet you share our taste in women. You have withstood eons of grim evolution so that we might instruct you regarding whose cosmos this is. Thank you for being impervious to bullets so we can keep shooting and shooting, for being, in fact, so stubbornly tough we can shoot off every weapon we've got and still end up wishing we'd given the death geeks more money. Thank you for lacking documentation so nobody cares what we do to you. Thank you for eating the slutty girls first, for showing us how unsexy it looks to know you will soon become space monster poo. And because we are most ourselves when we're slaughtering you or being slaughtered by you, thank you for not being us, for having no place here, no clubhouse of nerd vigilantes bent on protecting you. You look like something I shouldn't have said. You look like my father, my future, my life. And in less than 2 hours, we'll know your weakness. Your heads will start popping like Chinese New Year's, and we'll get our stars back. Okay, well, since I'm sure you're all going to be on pins and needles, I will tell you ahead of time that this poem is in fact not addressed to a real person. Song for Your Freckles. Someone has painted the sky with a red-shifted spatter of new constellations, inventing mythologies even in creamiest daylight. There's Bullwinkle, Einstein, Gene Kelly, Jane Austen, Rodin, La Grande Jatte, and that's just the summer. Someone's erected a playground all over your face and let loose a horde of minuscule hedonists to swarm over champagnes and wolds and clamber up graceful play structures, occasionally sneaking a glance at the shadowy places under your shirt where the bad freckles go to smoke and pet. An errantly perspicacious geometer proves a new theorem. If 2 points determine a line, 1,000 add up to the kind of mad scribble a small boy will raptly repeat, page after page, when he's first finding out a surface with marks on it always means more than a blank one. Someone has sent a delirious message of hope to the stars, and the static we hear coming back to our radio dishes fizzes and tickles like dots and dashes of bubbling rain. Nobody knows what it means, but it makes us want to explore. And this one is sort of about that, that horrible old drug thalidomide that used to be given to pregnant women back in the 50s to treat morning sickness. And not only did it do that, it also tended to give them deformed children with badly stunted arms and partial hands. So, this is called almost two arms to hold you. Her arms just reached her hips, looking like wax her mother melted with thalidomide. So from her shoulders hung two stubby facts, and a world of inconvenience they implied, like not being able to scratch your back or reach a shelf or play an instrument. And while she did have fingers and a knack for making them do, they were few, red, and bent. Her face was lovely, and I thought I might overlook her imperfections, but when I saw her next, she was with someone quite handsome. They walked together, silent. Then they kissed. And as I turned away, I saw his elbow, cradled in her crooked claw. Am I really going to read this with Michael here? Oh, what the hell. I don't write a lot of haiku. It's so easy to write bad ones. But I will attempt this one. Plum blossoms. How would it be to climax just once a year, but have it last a week? And let's see. All right. If anybody can think of how to introduce this one, please let me know. It's called None of the Above. I'd like to go on being immortal a few more years. And when the aliens come, I want to be the one they pick to explain model railroads and curling. Some people devote nearly all their free time to something nobody cares about, except for a few sheepish misfits. I want to do that. Then again, I also want to be the obsession of millions of beautiful idiots. Why can't we be young and then old on alternate weeks? I love when Godzilla sloshes up out of the sea of Japan, stomps a few busloads of urban drones, then waddles back into the waves to return to his submarine cave and write long, earnest letters to Mothra and Rodan. And if I could be a cartoon, falling off cliffs or getting blown up would at least get reliable laughs. I wish I could be the kind of person who's able to say tufted tit without smirking, the kind who gets introduced as our dear friend. I've always liked riding the lift up the mountain so much better than skiing back down. I want to be the inventor of kissing and place myself in the public domain. And I think I shall make this my soul food poem for the evening. Ding! Cosmology. The Big Bang gushes its creamy mist, and clouds of wavy squiggles float and disperse for an epoch that doesn't seem long now that it's in the past, until some part of the smoke coalesces, becomes concentrated, grows darkly at first, then ignites in a hot shriek of light, a crucible in which worlds are born, and that now sits here on my knee, struggling to hold up her head. As space curves around her, cups her weight in a well of potential, and my cosmic center is stolen by this big-headed, drooling Copernicus, whose life's work will be my demotion from absolute frame of reference to small satellite in an unsuspected universe. Let's see, maybe just a couple more. The heroes. When word got out about Superman, especially the part about how smartly Lois fills out a sweater. They began showing up from every planet in cosmic tarnation. The man of water who can take any shape, the man of smoke who floats like hot snakes, the man of rubber rebounding off walls, the man of stained glass, reverent and lustrous, the man of feathers, hopeful, always hopeful. Whatever their powers, they all have the same need to use them, to wait for the moment of utmost helplessness before revealing themselves to be the man of pudding, gooey and sweet, or the man of leather who smells good and wears well, or the man of oatmeal who's bland but helps you to purge, or the man of bamboo who you can't get rid of, or the man of chalcedony who has the power to intimidate those who don't know what chalcedony is. They've come to our planet in search of some evil to thwart, some goodness to rescue, a place where their powers are rare enough to be valuable. There's probably one where you work, sitting through meetings in silence, head down over the copier, disguised as a man of earthly concerns. They're always disguised, these heroes. The one thing they fear is the loss of their secret identities. So they've studied our habits and learned to live among us. You see them in grocery stores pretending to toy with a melon, when really they're maintaining vigilance, ever alert for the cry of distress that will send them bursting chest first through their drab outerwear to stand in spandex splendor and show the astonished earthlings what heroes are made of. And oh, go on. And I guess it's time for me to quit, so I'll finish with this one. No go Blavatsky. The demented residuum of my aunt used to blurt, "I'm gonna die," not knowing that she mostly had. And that random twinge I just felt in my chest was the angel of death inserting a knife in me to see if I'm done. But when it came out, it still had some goo on it, so onward I hurtle like Zeno's arrow, bearing down on a target I can't ever hit, but will anyway, causing some flickery, feathery special effect to crawl from my wrecked brain and leap up into the cosmos, rebounding among the Cartier pinball bumpers, racking up infinite points and free plays forever. Ghost sex ought to be easy, since everything penetrates everything else, and playboys having sufficient charisma can probably get 2 or 3 to stand in one spot and be had all at once. And if our deaths are like stars that blew up ages ago, and we're just waiting until the light gets here to blast our ghosts out of our meat, let's show the little fellas the best time we can, since where they're going, lovers have to get by without serotonin, adrenaline, or dopamine. Depressives have nothing to threaten us with. Soldiers can only implore each other to please fall down. And the demented residuum of my aunt will only be able to blurt, "What am I going to do now?" Thanks very much.
Thank you. Let's break for a few minutes and shop the store, get some refreshments, meet our poets, pick up a wonderful chapbook, and we'll see you back for the open mic. Let's give a round of applause as we go into break for both Dennis Caswell and Marjorie Manhorn.
truth, it fell so heavy, like a hammer through the room, that I could choose another over her. You always said I was an act. Guess in truth you thought me just like. Was it you who told me once? Now looking back, it seems surreal that all our mistakes are merely graceful and meal. So why is it now, after I've had my fill, would you steal from me sorrow that I've earned? Shall we call this a lesson learned? Shall we call this a lesson?
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Oshawa, please.
We're going to get started with the open mic, and feel free to still continue to get beverages and shop, but, have an ear lent towards the stage so you hear everyone. I was searching for rain, famous lines or things that included the word rain, because the rainstorm had taken the power down twice in my house, as I said, and but I found some really optimistic kinds of things, so I wanted to share one with you. I kind of like this. I'm a Leonard Cohen fan. I don't consider myself a pessimist. I think of a pessimist as someone who is waiting for it to rain, and I feel soaked to the skin. Leonard Cohen. I like that. And one of the things we do is we ask a little question when we bring people up to the stage, and we're going to bring up two wonderful readers tonight. We are bringing up Mikhail, who is a favorite here at SoulFood, and as a special treat, Katie. And one of the things we'd like you to say when you get up here is what your favorite sweet is, just as kind of a way of getting to know you. Please welcome to the stage Katie and Mikhail.
Was a favorite what? Sweet. Like Oreos?
Mine would probably have to be butterscotch.
Wow, I would have taken that one. I wanted to read this poem, and I didn't know that Katie was going to be here. She wrote a couple of poems that followed up another one that she'd written that I'd kind of taken notes on after we played handball. And she wrote two more because of the family members, I think, right, that wanted some more poems. So I'm going to read the first one, and she's going to read the second one, and then there's another one here Katie will read, and then I'll read another one. These are all short. So this is by Katie. I am love. I am the shamrock in the field. I am the virus in you. I am the flute in the orchestra. I am the water in the fire. I am a girl, and yet something more than that. I am your cream in your coffee. I am your friend, yet not. I am song on the album. Why am I saying I am if I'm not? But for a verse, I am me.
So, I am light. I am light in the day. I am the sugar in your soul. I am the medieval time, yet I am here. I am the dog, yet cat. I am the writing on your hand. I am not maid or servant. I am a free woman. I am the rain on your roof. I am on planet Gaia. I am you and me. I am a girl like all my fellow women. I am a man like all my fellow men. I am the circle of life.
This next one is from Trila, who's 9 years old. Katie's 10.
This is called Beauty Is. Beauty is light on a rosebud. Beauty is a blossom flower in the middle of a green field. Beauty is golden leaves against brown bark. Beauty is evergreen talons piled up high with milky white snow. Beauty is glistening water falling down a rocky cliff. Beauty is what you know most in your heart. Beauty is soil bringing life into a blade of grass. Beauty is everything.
This is one for my grandfather, who was an orange grower in Florida. When the oranges be ripe, when the oranges be ripe, and fireflies light the groves. When fireflies light the groves and we peel the rind. When we peel the rind and chew wholeness in slices. When we chew wholeness in slices and spit out seeds on sand. When we spit out seeds on sand and juice burns our lips. When juice burns our lips and the fruit stickies our bellies. When the fruit stickies our bellies, let us sleep having touched trust. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. That was such a treat. Our next open mic reader enjoys raw cookie dough, and who doesn't? And let's give her a special round of applause because this is her first time at the open mic. Katie Casto.
I'm a tall woman. Okay, this first poem is a pantoum, which if you don't know is like a braiding of repeated lines. It's called An Unexpected Encounter with Orca Whales. Oh, I'm sorry. An Unexpected Encounter with Orca Whales. Don't wait for the exhale. They're farther than they seem. Your eyes watch my eyes fail. I'll drink down your black dream. They're farther than they seem. The majesty consumes me. I'll drink down your black dream from the mountains of the sea. The majesty consumes me, and with a chill I pause from the mountains of the sea, and with heavy head withdraw. And with a chill I pause, now your tears flood my surrender. With heavy head withdraw, I see only your splendor. Now your tears flood my surrender, your eyes watch my eyes fail. I only see your splendor, don't wait for the exhale. Thanks. Okay, I just have one more that's short. This is called November, and it's divided into 3 sections. 1, the leaves take off from trees like butterflies. They land in your hair, and for that moment before they're off, I want to weave red and orange flowers behind your ear, pull bangs back so sideways glances soak in. 2, and now that we're here, I wish we could go back. The wanderlust still holds me restless, and I'm dancing in empty ballrooms, speaking tongues no one understands. 3, the reds falling hard leave naked limbs and winter bones, and I'm frailer than before. Thanks.
Thank you. Come back. And next up, someone who's sweet I can't quite read. Water. Watermelon. Ramona Clifton and Katie.
This is After Hours, and it is really recent in its generation. It began on the 16th. Okay, is this better? This is After Hours, and it began on Monday, the 16th of November. In simple surrender, there is radiant peace, joy, and enfolding love for me here at SoulFood Books in the after hours. After the dishes are washed, after the vacuuming is done, after most of the tribe has retired, in turning a jump rope constructed from 2 scarves, one red, the other one silver and black, knotted together and thoroughly secured, well, mostly anyway, kinda, sorta, thoroughly entangled within two black hair ties. Watching enraptured, ecstatic, as two of our beloved Soul Food tribe children practiced their jumping over this unusual yet effective piece of athletic equipment. Oh, occasionally enlisting the aid of the back of a chair. Katie Skye, the acknowledged expert and the true elder of the two, I might add. His sister Wolf, running in from the outside, on the upswing, doing the splits, touching the floor between her up jumps, daring to jump backwards, turning within the circle above and below, setting the pace, raising the bar, rope, scarves, reaching 67 skips in one turn, never saying uncle, not once. Oh, well. Katie, kindly sharing her tips for success, along with graceful challenges, to try new and different approaches to each and every technical jump style. Coaching, being playful in every caring word, showing how bright a star really can be in the after hours. And then there is Mikhail, the older of the two children, though really not by much. Older, that is, who usually is recognized for his quiet standing, hands folded over his heart, his listening, and his loquacious poems. In his just shy of 62 years of extreme jumping experiences, this was to be his very first rope jumping event. Oh yeah, you heard me, ever. And jump he did. As Katie and I counted, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and he set his own personal best, 26, 27, 28, and broke it, 33, 34, and broke it again, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51. With ineffable courage, he jumped with the rope coming from the back instead of the frontwards. He turned, he laughed, he sparkled, he jumped and jumped and jumped and never hit the chair. He never, not once, nope, no siree. He never kissed the floor or skinned a knee or, well, you get the drift. He was jumping rope and his heart was pearl jamming. And they were sharing space and time and love and joy and peace with each other, with me. In the after hours, within this simple surrender, there is radiant peace, joy, and enfolding love for me here at Soul Food Books in the after hours, after the dishes are washed, after the vacuuming is done, after most of the tribe is retired. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to have young energy here on the stage and youth in all ages. Next up is the young poet laureate of Pacific who favors pecan pie, Gerald McBreen.
Well, she obviously got part of that wrong. I want to show you this real change because I just found out this evening that one of my poems is published in there. And you can read it for yourself. There's real change back over there. But tonight I want to read, hopefully I have time for 4 short ones. The Grand Reaction. At dusk, a siren's shrill splits the silence. Red lights flash as the truck crosses 3rd and Milwaukee, dashing first responders toward impending disaster. Pneumonia, an ether dream, buried in some conscious, died, came back before the experience was popularized. An angel with wings, as long as his body called me through our minds. Follow the light back to the operating room, where they left a scar under my right shoulder blade. Can't be seen by me without mirror tricks. After Emily Dickinson, I'm somebody, so are you. I'm somebody, how about you? You are somebody too. I can tell. That makes 2 of us, and that's swell. But when the phone rings, who should answer? How dreadful to be nobody, unnoticed at the dance. Tell your name to none listening, not even to be banished, just ignored. Up, up, and away. I repeated that phrase as often as necessary until I was beyond hearing, beyond thought. If I saw anything, it was a penguin at the blackboard, pointing a ruler at bird droppings splashed there, her mouth opening, closing, shouting as loud as goldfish. It was a good thing she didn't ask me a question. What could I say? You just think I'm here. Actually, I'm away. One nun did ask, Jerry, where are you? Here, I lied.
Next up, a soul food regular and a lover of apple pie, Joshua Sassman.
Hi. Okay. All right. I didn't check my list of poems I've read at Soul Food before I came over, so I'm going to read one that I suspect I read before. So this is the first poem I ever wrote back in 2002, and it's called Ghost Path. Westward through the mountains, then onward to the coast. Disregarding every hindrance rides the unstoppable ghost. Southward through desolation and deeper into the fault. Searching out isolation, the ghost will never halt. Eastward past tropical lines traversing through the marsh. He'll pause for a drop of wine, then continue though the land is harsh. Northward to the tip of humanity, his compass doing all the math. Ignoring the earth's extremity, the ghost never desists from his path. So that's that. And and this one I wrote sometime between 6 and 6:30 this evening. Anyway, for the time being, I'm calling it Poetry of a Light Bulb. How many poets, you ask, does it take to change a light bulb? 7 poets, I say, to change one light, and now I shall tell you why. 1 poet you'll need to ponder why light should be required in the first place. A 2nd poet to determine whether or not we deserve the benefits of the bulb, and if not, what we can do to deserve it. A 3rd poet you'll need to combine those elements into a working belief system. A 4th poet, of course, must choose the wattage according to the mental capacity of those that shall absorb the light. A fifth poet must contemplate what color and shade is appropriate to the belief system of the environment. See poet number 3. A sixth poet shall carefully install the bulb to perfectly beautify the environment for which it is intended. And a seventh poet shall place it all into verse. Therefore I tell thee, it doth take 7 poets to change a light bulb. Thank you.
Well, he's in the perfect season enjoying pumpkin pie. Please welcome Brendan McBreen.
Hello. I have, I'll just do 3 short ones. Is that better? This is Untitled. I offer my pound of flesh wherever I go. There have been no takers so far. In the season when rain is the way of things, the sky is not always gray, but sometimes full of seagulls, wings spread wide as truth, completely still as the wind transforms gray theologies around them. Cries linger, few by few they fall away, until the last one becomes the North Star. This is where I orbit, offering bits of myself to any soggy seagull I meet. Across the street, from a maker of prosthetic limbs, a one-legged crow. This is also untitled. Sometimes, in the distance, I hear train horns. It sounds like voices. I can't make out what they're saying, but I try to believe they are voices, speaking in sacred whispers about the night, about darkness, about the vast between stars. And as they fade, they make poems in praise of everything. Thank you.
Butter pecan ice cream with chocolate is his favorite sweet. Please welcome Rick Smith.
I have 2 short ones tonight. The first one is called Love Depends on Light. Your lack of happiness is a somber state of affairs. How deplorable the brain doesn't engage as quickly as the heart in matters of love. Like sunset just beyond the horizon, no longer interested in providing enough light to distinguish gray from the darkest part of night. The idea is tattooed on your heart and face while healing courses through your body. It is always better to accept exposure to love than to have never experienced it. Accept risks to enjoy the reward love brings. Let time pass, then an understanding begin anew. And this is called pleonistic appeal. Pleonastic appeal. I want to be a part of your world, like sun bathes day in bright light, or moon diffuses night's soft glow. Rivers of my heart fill, drop by drop, with raindrops of your life-giving smile. Allow my soul to bask and grow in the light of your Milky Way. Introduce me to life in the universe of shared experience as part of you. Let me flower in your garden of caring, one bloom in the bouquet of your life. Could I be a basket you bake for sustenance? I would happily be all these things and more because you complete me.
And she's not even here to hear this. a man who says his favorite sweet is his beloved Rebecca. Please welcome Jim Teeters.
Right, here's 3 short poems. The first, I guess, is a pastoral poem, Gratitude, from walking the Sioux Creek Trail to keep myself alive. Gratitude. Reflection of tree trunks in the glassy pond. Morning sunlight on the few remaining leaves, flecks of gold against blue sky. Copper treetops across the hills, the proud pines still green. White-faced horses lined up against red barns, steaming nostrils. Finally, clouds cluster below the solitary mountain as I drive back home to coffee and my writing desk. This one, inquisition into things left out in the yard, soaking wet, clearly not what I want to happen as we try to live our lives as we ought. Oughtness breaks down the flower petal of my heartbeat, longing for purity which plagues me. Pandemonium drums deep beyond the circus tent of my quest for harmony with little regard for your wet kisses. In the yard we lay down the line of our contemplation, the damp libations, cool pursuits, and garbled longings. And this poem called Workaholic, which takes a little energy to read. As I read this poem, please no sound recordings or flash photography. To do so puts the performer in danger and uncompromising fragility. Thank you. Workaholic. I'm munching a plum, licking my lips, singing a song while wiggling my hips. I'm turning over a leaf and braying like a donkey. I'm spelunking a cave and horning my honky. My days are so full and my schedule so tight, I'm be working from dawn till the sun's out of sight. Thank you.
A sweet treat that's hard to find, cardamom ice cream. Please welcome Tanya McDonald.
You can, however, find it in Port Townsend at the Elevated Ice Cream Shop on Water Street. Good stuff. I'm not going to read any haiku today because I've been working on my novel all month, National Novel Writing Month. Anyone doing that? Anyone? No? Next year, November. 50,000 words in 30 days. It's great fun. Instead, I'm going to read a poem by Barbara Drake, who is a poet from Yamhill, Oregon. And this one I'm reading for Lana. Cat on eggs. Gigi the barn cat, 16 years old, has taken to sitting on eggs the hens lay in hiding places between bales of hay. They're warm, and she loves warmth for her old cat bones. Our chickens, the red hen, the barred rock, the aracunas, and the black astrolorp lay eggs, then wander off to look for vermin in the barn debris, while the cat, opportunist that she is, waits for them to leave, climbs on the nest, curls, and sleeps there. I pull the eggs, blue, green, pink, and brown, out from under the soft fur of the cat's belly. Warm eggs in my hands. Thank you.
Our next reader is our oft barista, who didn't express a sweet, but is very sweet in and of himself, as we all know. Please welcome Taylor.
Hello again. Yeah, I got so excited about writing down my name, I didn't know there's a question. But my favorite sweet is Skittles. Skittles. All right, so my first poem I want to read is a poem called Life. Long paces and short breaths, fast moments unable to rest. To be and just be in life, love, and freedom. And forgotten worries, and forget worries, decisions and judgments, with or without reason. Breathe. And get carried away by the inescapable sway to play. Calm down and it's all right. Feel the listening. Pulse the moment. Can't you feel it resonating in the bellows of life? Deep, vast pits of theories. Open, warm beliefs. Gather love of life. Casually breathes, often sighs at relief. Life does not end, it just begins. And then my second poem, I haven't named it. Phantom magic flash, and where blinding sparkles have a blast. A place of immortality, free of restraint. A place of reality, where none have a hard time to relate. You know it well, some as your home. In a fairy tale land, or the way I see it, it's right there in Redmond. Call me crazy to love an entire race, but I love being crazy in this awesome, crazy place. Where there is no same and is no difference, a place where time is blipped out of existence. Stay long enough and you'll see what I mean. To be in the deafening silence, where silence, it screams. We are all part of the SoulFood tribe, yet if you don't know it, then I insist that you come inside. Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor. Next up, a woman who enjoys Toblerone. Please welcome, please welcome Peggy Barnett.
Thank you. I've been writing a lot of poems lately about getting older, and I think I'm going to be writing a lot more because it doesn't seem to be going away. And I just thought I would read a quick quote about old age from a Japanese poet named Yoshida Kenko, who lived in the 13th century, actually. Are we only to look at flowers in full bloom, at the moon when it is clear? There is much to be seen in young boughs about to flower, and in gardens strewn with withered blossom. Men are wont to regret that the moon has waned or that the blossoms have fallen, but this must be so. Yet they must be perverse indeed who will say, this branch, that bough is withered, now there is naught to see. Wish I'd written that. I'm going to read a poem called On Your Left. It's about a bicycle that I bought recently. On your left. My legs pump gently in the late afternoon blue reflections of trees and water, gears clicking. On your left, a black butt streaking past me, calves bare, bulging biceps. 51 years since I last rode a bicycle. Memories of streets lost to malls, Fairyland, Newtown Field, Howard Johnson's peaked orange roof, intense thoughts of a 15-year-old on a rudge, which I forgot in a park. On your left, I saw it in a thrift shop, all French and silver. It was 35 years old. I guess I bought it to prove that it could still work, just like me. I sit upright and carefully, a woman past a certain age, a red Pierre d'Or handbag tied to the handlebars, with my Blue Cross card inside. You never know. Wearing a light blue rollerblade helmet in case of World War I. On your left, my wobble is dangerous to your health. You fear me. Where are you going, passing me so fast, so intense? Life is to be savored, like a really good cappuccino. He flashes by. When you get there, you're there. You turn around and you're here. I ride on alone. This is a good way to get away if you have a get to get away from. On your left, I pass 50 gray waterfront homes to lease, ticky-tacky little boxes, and they all are in a row. A lady with a cat on her lap smiles at me. A blackberry in the sun. Cow smell, horse smell, great hit, cheering crowd, empty green benches. I remember the canals of Holland 30 years ago, their tall tree shadows in the slanting sun. My crotch starts to burn. I didn't know it could still burn. It's been a long 35 years. Joggers pass me panting in Hindi. Under the overpass, up is hard, very hard. I struggle to stay in motion every day. On your left, I shout, on your left. I pedal faster. I am running with the wolves. I am going for the old gold with silver threads amongst.
Thank you, Peggy. Is D-Fib Shazam in the house? Shazam. All right. We don't know what your suite is, but come on up.
Yeah, I have too many cavities. I can't eat sweets. Okay. I'm going to start with this poem. I'm going to read you a couple tonight, and then I'll get to getting. Anyways, this is called Mount Kilimanjaro. The time it takes to get to the highest point on Mount Kilimanjaro depends all on whether you have wings or not. The wings symbolize the advantage the strong, or rather the ones who adapted best, have over the weak. The weak are everywhere. They look you in the eye, court jester mask, smiling, forehead font reads strength. Tony Award-winning actors, for lack of a better word, is how we describe them. Don't trust it. Don't look back or become it, because that would make you one of them. You might as well be a textless, crumpled table scrap in Friedrich Nietzsche's apartment building. You became an imperfection, soon to be swept under a rug where lint, dust bunnies, and dirt collect. And then what are you worth? Shoot on sight. Sniper status. And if your finger trembles before you shoot, just turn the gun on yourself. Don't waste our breath. Don't fall. Because when you lose balance, when you trip over your other foot, when you glide across the dark ice patch in the road, when that pesky mouse leaves the rotten banana peel on the floor, you best pay attention, because if you don't, you slip. And when you slip, you fall. And the fear hits you like batons off a cop's hip. Why can't we all just get along? I roll up in my blanket of darkness and hide in the shadows listening. I hear the screws and bolts being tightened on the gun which holds the bullet with my name on it. I can't breathe anymore. All I feel is the weakness that attacks my senses. All I understand is thin blood and frail bones, and became the meticulous grains of sand that digs into my skin, the amount of dirt that collects under my fingernails, and the viruses that invade the blood that trails through my veins. You'll never see me, but you'll be able to see my writings on the wall. You'll be able to see my shoe prints in cement, follow the yellow brick road, climb up the words of my story. Open your eyes and look the mask's reflection in the mirror. Sheltered but homeless Negroes think you got it figured out. 15 years young, letting evil drill holes 6 feet deep into his prefrontal cortex. Government policy projects produce people who are surrounded by ignorance. Beats and raps wrapped in blunt paper, down with OPP. RESSION. Nah, son, that's weakness. Engrave the word on a bullet, cock back and blast. Survival of the fittest don't mean shit to me. The mind and living above the clouds is all that matters. Interpret that as you will. Okay, I got one more, and then I will step off the stage. This one is called Inhale, Exhale, and I wrote this in response to a teacher's assignment, and it ended up coming out really good. So, yeah, here it is. My teacher asked me, what is poetry? Prickly Polly Pocket, peppermint popsicles, bubblegum bobbing over sunflower gardens while I gently squeeze your hand wrapped around mine. I heart the candy-coated chrysalis chrysanthemum skipping through Teletubby valleys, sweet soliloquies of spring, buttercups blooming smooth as butter, but her, what I said down the block blowing trees like forget poetry. That ain't real. Poetry? Poetry is a sore on my hand. Pop it and watch blood beats and rhymes ooze from the center of my palm. I smear it on denim. I speak words equivalent to the distant quasars swimming inside the avenues of darkness and deep space. Lost intelligence communicating my words and phrases calculated and explained through mathematics. Proofs, equations, and theories spell it out. Greetings from Earth, I'm Greg, peace be with you. Poetry ain't notes whack red-headed mermaids play when they strum a golden harp. Poetry is the blood that runs out of your nose after you take a bite out of a knuckle sandwich. Poetry is the 5-year-old who fell off his bike too many times and said, screw it, hovering is easier. Poetry is the ballet dancer in the corner smiling while she scarfs down her reflection. She leaves the remains of her emotions in penthouse toilet water, coughing up the shards of glass she consumed that day. Just flush. She can't take her eyes off herself as she slowly disappears through the pipes and pits of the Manhattan sewer system. See, purging her poetry is the only thing she got control of, so that softish ain't poetry. Nah. Poetry is walking away from your mother's hospital bed, not realizing that the hugs and I love yous you showered her with that night would be the last you'd ever give her. It's so cold outside. Seconds tick away as moments pass and I slip into a quiet rest and dream of translucent rainbows, sunsets that wrap their rays around a child's smile, blue skies and similes like sounds of the ocean, fires in an open field where the flames kiss the stars and the inconstant moon. Loving, I love you. It feels warm. And then my alarm sounds and I wake from paradise. Thrusted back into empty your pockets and stick 'em up. It's my turn to eat and I ain't playing games, nigga. Time's too fast to think. Stop your go. You could get with this or that, the choice is yours, but this is real talk. This is the poetry of a new generation. In real life, this is the language we speak. Inhale, exhale. And you know what? Fuck the okey doke. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the poet whose name I can't figure out. Eugene, what's before Eugene? Theta? Phi, that's phi. Okay, welcome, Universal Quantifier Phi, Eugene.
Universal philosophy. Hi, I like pie. Anyway, I also have 2 poems, which I will eagerly recite from the pages of my... This one is called Grief of Kings. I remember when we would run and pay no mind to the rain, and you would fall, and I would laugh, and then I would help you up and hold you up, and we'd get lost together. But that never happened, did it? You never fell. I would just march through the sickly sheet of mist being spit at me and not say a word, and my shoulders would ache with an imagined pain until they withered by a warm touch and fell off, and I would sit by candlelight and I would think of the good old days that never happened. History has a way of rearing her perfect, hideous head and raining spittle and Greek fire over us all, and we would cry and cry and cry and cry until the fire was big enough, and we sit in our own cauldron carefully measuring out the spices because we want everything to turn out okay. 12 pieces to the puzzle. I found 11. I'm missing December. feels too perfect. It feels too promising, like a trumpet on PCP. December to me is a symbol of lust, and I am as dry as our deep blue veins. And then there was the campfire where we would sit, and Georgie would roast his marshmallows and tell us ghost stories, but we would ignore him just as soon as he set up our tents. And sometimes we would watch TV. I never really wanted to, but I would do it just to sit next to you. We would watch the news, and Ma would get worried until her brother got drunk. Then she said we should leave. And we would drive 30 minutes to your house, and there was never anybody home. Sometimes the world, the great gray slate that it is, would stare back at me, and my chest would sting of acrid smoke, and my mouth dries up, and I want a cigarette even though they make me sick, so I eat instead. But nothing tastes good unless I make it for someone, and I would just sit here and think of things I said but never did, or never thought, that never happened. Sometimes I wonder if there really is a sky behind those eyes, and everyone sleeps too much and complains of insomnia and bad backs and restless legs, and no one takes Prozac anymore. We just watch Obama do stuff on the internet, and I always wonder if my kids will live to be as old as I am. Perseus lost his winged shoes, and everyone eats too much, but we're all anorexic and look so good, except all the fat people and the Muslims, and we hate them. Iran, I mean. And Israel is still here. Da Vinci spilled his ink, and a bead of sweat drips from my brow every night and falls for eons, and I wonder if it ever hits anyone on the head. How could it? We all have umbrellas to keep our dresses dry for the show tonight. And I may think I work hard, but I don't. And I may think I'm smart, but I'm not. And sometimes you think about me, but not really. And I stare at the wall for hours and whisper, "You're disgusting, but I love you so much." One more. It's called No Eraser. So, it's come to this, has it? Here I have hauled myself upon the soapbox, have I? Well now, while I'm up here, let's make the most of it, shall we? Strength. Muscles, strained veins, tendons, ligaments conjoined like gears moving mountains rock by rock. And yet, I am perfectly content with leaving stones in their peace. Mountains may have their way, as if I wish to crown the world, I can do so only by standing on top of one. Truth. Strength is iron and flesh, blood and rust, bullets and acid, tears and fires, storms and umbrellas turned inside out 3 miles away, waves coming up to swallow you and drag you down past all light and all life to join the dead at dinner, and you claw and the salt stings your eyes and you are helpless but find air anyway. Strength is saying, "I love you," and truly, truly meaning it. Principle, values, morals, dirt, filthy and disgusting. Plant a seed and it grows. Words, words, words. Whiteout, the brown stain your mug leaves on the page, or that one wet droplet, there's action. A fireplace on fire, a flooded swimming pool, a destroyed wrecking ball, calloused hands holding a broken pen. Give me your hands, I want them. Even more, I want your eyes, your mouths, lungs, blood, flesh, soul. Give me your respect. Part with it and share a slice. It will prevent me from starving. I am tired of cold oatmeal. I am tired of just getting attention. Who here can cook up some bacon? I am hungry. My muscles don't have the vigor they once had, and my lips quiver at the very thought of breaking bricks. Mortar, plaster, cement. There's a rose in here somewhere. You must forgive me. I seem to have confused myself with some kind of global conscience. No, I do not want your respect. I want nothing from you. I will take what you give me, what I earn, and I will drown hungry before begging for a delicious meal of oxygen. I will cook it myself. And my blood is yours. Less of you is less of me, and if your blood rots and petrifies, it will be harder for me to swim. Lend me thy hammer, such that we may break bricks together. And now, brothers and sisters, one more word before I fade from your imaginations. Dear God, what a proposition. I have not thought this out. This belies lengthy preparation. Blades and bullets and hot coals carved from the fangs of snakes, dripping venom on thy bread. There is a knife in all our backs. Malice comes about by accident. We're all just looking for excuses to do anything.
Thank you. The last poet of the evening enjoys a cool creme brulee topped with a crisp shell fresh from the chef's torch. Please welcome Dawn Marie Oliver.
To answer Katie earlier, beauty is a gleaming stack of instruments waiting to be played. This one is for all the baristas who've humored me over the years. It's called Standing Order. If you ask me if I need anything else, want anything else, can you get me anything else? I have a standing order waiting to be filled. I want a date with Johnny Depp. I want Johnny at the coffee house, at the steakhouse, at the dry cleaners and the computer store. Day, night. In jeans or taffeta, pearls or steel. I want an end to this bubble of invisibility I have in most days, and the empty sheets every night. I want someone weirder than me to reassure me that I'm not alone in the freak show. Someone to look at me, into me, understand me, with dark eyes and a quirky smile instead of cruel judgment. An endless suburban mom, secure in their smugness that I'm a failure for my lack of babies and a cookie-cutter husband who ignores me for the office wife. I want a date with Johnny because I can, and because anything can happen if you just ask for it. Thank you.
Well, that concludes another amazing evening at Soul Food Poetry Night. Remember, next month, because it is the holiday season, we're going to meet on December 10th, which is the second Thursday instead of the third. So meet us here on the second Thursday, December 10th, for Jeff Lair and Matthew Allen, who is a young performance poet, and Jeff, who's just crazy. I think you might have heard him here at an open mic earlier. So we hope to see you then. And let's go out with a round of applause for all the wonderful people at Soul Food Books, for our featured guests, Marjorie Manwaring and Dennis Caswell, and all of you. Thank you. Good night.